Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hey.
I'm so excited. This is like
Me too.
one. I'm like, this is great. How do you like my background? I'm down in the basement. You wouldn't know it.
I love it. I love it. Take me there.
I know, right? Exactly. I tried a new background. I said, okay, Kristen's basement is finished. However, there is stuff all over the place. So
Don't you love the virtual backgrounds just for
I'm
that reason?
Bruce, man, you can cover up everything for sure. I so appreciate you doing this, honestly. I'm so excited. I have so much admiration, and you just it's just so wonderful because you're so good, so authentic, and I got a whole bunch of adjectives that I can't think of right now, but seriously,
Feel so awesome about how you are. The first of all, you're such an inspiration for representing that yoga is for everybody, no matter what your age group is. And I'm always inspired by how vicariously you just live so vividly, you and Fred, just the fact that you would just uproot from America and just go and live somewhere else is such a, I tell my husband all the time, they are our goals. We have to try to get these kids out so we can go live somewhere else.
well, I appreciate it. I know a lot of people, not necessarily family, like the kids were like, oh, that is so you and dad. Like, yeah, okay, you're gone, you're out of here. But a lot of people, it's very interesting. Their reaction was, but like, why? And we're like, but like, why not? Because you can always
Why
come back
not?
if you don't like it, right?
Absolutely,
If it
absolutely.
doesn't work out, you come back. And it's funny because given that we have been stuck for the last 3 additional weeks than we expect, maybe it's even 4 additional weeks than we expected, we keep marveling at the fact that how much we miss it. How is it possible that a foreign country is a place that you now call home,
Right.
and stop that noise. And you miss it so. It's a really odd juxtaposition to experience. Like this is where you're born and raised, but this doesn't necessarily feel like home anymore.
Right, right. I get that. I totally get that. And I think that it's synonymous with a lot of things we do in life. How many of us are so afraid to even leave a job that we hate
Isn't
because
that the
of the
truth?
fear of the unknown? There's people who never even left their city, let alone their state, let alone
Right.
their country, out of just the fear of the unknown.
Exactly. And
So
that is
yeah,
so true.
yeah. So
And you travel a lot. I mean, I love seeing your pictures and what you do with you and your husband chilling and going places. And now that things are opening, sort of, um, we can all kind of get back to that piece of our lives of which we would always say. I would say to the kids, travel is your best teacher.
it truly is. I learned so much about myself,
That's
um,
right.
as well as others, how other people live. What I thought was so great about home, sometimes I'm appreciative, but sometimes I'm like, wow, just the food. I mean, you go to get a cup
Right.
of coffee in another country and you realize how different, how pure the coffee is in another country, how you ask for cream and it's pure. You
Cream.
eat bread and it's not loaded with a bunch of junk. You just it's just interesting when you go and you find out about other cultures and how other people live, and it just gives you the freedom to be able to be able to step outside of your zone. So
Exactly.
I love traveling. I love talking, even to the person that's the taxi driver,
Me
taking
too.
us from the airport to to our living quarters. I learned so much just by talking to them. So
Right.
yeah, I love traveling. When our kids were younger, we couldn't afford to travel a lot. It was five of us, so we would do a lot of day trips or trips
Mhm.
that were local. And then as they got older and circumstances for us changed, and we learned how to use points to travel
That's right.
versus paying dollars and, using a credit card that's an airline credit card where you can earn points instead of using a debit card where you get nothing for it.
Exactly.
It just opened up so many doors for us to be able to see the world in a different way. So
And
I
that's
always tell people, if you
how
want
I
to learn about yourself, go
mm-hmm,
travel.
mm-hmm. It's like telling other people there you can travel rather cheaply. I mean, seriously, and be in really very nice surroundings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Learning to negotiate. You see a price, don't take the first price, negotiate.
That's right.
So it's a lot of lessons you learn in stepping out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, you have to be able to. It's interesting. Your point about what it's making me think of. We were walking in the town where we live, and we were waiting at a stop sign or something, and this gentleman came up, and white British, and he was looking for property because he was going to open a bar. And so we started up a little conversation, and he said, "So you're American?" And first he said, "So you're from North America," not the assumption that you were American, because you could have been Canadian. That was the first point.
Interesting.
And so we said, "Yeah, we're from America." He says, "It's just so fascinating. I always wonder why Americans, as a whole, so many people don't travel." And it's true. You can go, and I'm sure you've experienced it. You can be
Yes.
in a place and there isn't regardless of race,
Yeah.
American around at
Yep.
all.
Yep. Interesting. I mean, and we try to go off the beaten path. One of the things we learned about ourselves as a couple and me as an individual is how introverted I am.
Um,
Although I'm around people, I teach yoga, I teach at my job. Um, I fill up by being by myself. So
hmm.
we try to go places that are kind of off the beaten path and where you can have a lot of privacy and you can connect with nature. And you're right, when we do find these off the beat and path locations, you don't see a lot of Americans there. Um, I definitely don't see a lot of people of color for sure, which I find
Exactly.
interesting as well.
Mm.
When you do, it's just like, hi.
Yes. There's yeah. How are you? So
So
it's amazing,
yeah.
really. So tell me, and those that will be watching slash listening, um, I know some about your yoga journey only because of what you post and what you share and what you draw. You're just so talented in what you write and your spoken word. And how did you get started in yoga?
Well, it's interesting. I think it came from a place, and most people have this story when they discovered yoga on a path of trying to find themselves. I was actually referred to take a yoga class by a therapist. So I'm going to go back a little bit. Here I
Hmm.
was in college, actually. I went away to college for the first time, and I was away from my family. And it, the very first major bout of depression hit me.
Uh,
And I always had like many bouts when I was younger, but I had a lot of distractions to keep me
mhm.
from really focusing on it. So here I'm at school. I mean, I really fell into a deep hole. And I remember coming home for one weekend and telling my mother and my grandmother how I was feeling low. I felt really tired. I felt really sad, but it's different than just being sad. And I was trying to find the words to
The
describe
word.
what I was going through. And I come from a heavily Christian background in my family. My
Me too.
father's a pastor, my mother's a minister, my in-laws are like it's just I'm surrounded by a very heavily Christian environment. And the prescription given to me by my mother and grandmother was stop being dramatic and
Mm.
pray, read your Bible and hear some scriptures. And it just didn't work. And it made me feel as if I was doing something wrong, or I wasn't praying hard enough,
I
or
don't
I
know.
wasn't doing the right thing. So I kind of pushed it down and just kind of trekked on with life, and finding myself just not having the courage to even discover who I was, um, and going through the bouts of depression throughout life. So, the husband came who has a personality bigger than this house, this room that I'm in. He's really into the arts as well. And he has a huge personality. My children, three boys, running around with three boys with their activities. I kind of lost myself in that process. And it wasn't until I kind of hit a rock bottom that I realized that I needed to talk to somebody, to go to a doctor. So I went to a therapist, found a really phenomenal therapist, and she gave me a bunch of assignments. One was to go on a date by myself. She gave me some books to read, and she said, I want you to go back to school and get your degrees. That was just something I wasn't happy that I never finished school. And to go to a yoga class. And I did. I went on a date by myself, signed up for school, and I went to a yoga class. And in that class, I was like, what is this? It was a restorative class. I didn't even know what I was signing up for.
Yeah. Huh.
And I was just in Shavasana with tears streaming down my face. And it was just it was the first time I felt really at peace in a really long time. And I knew I wanted to feel that again. And, I kind of tried to do it at my house, by myself. I didn't really go to the studio much after that. And then fast forward a few years later, I start seeing a lot of yogis showing up on social media that looked like me. And I think what kind of pulled me away is I never found a community of people that looked like me when I would go to a yoga class. Yeah. So as I found my community online, I decided that I want to create a community around me where I can practice with people that look like me, had, the same type of background, and we can connect. And there you go. I actually was called to do my first yoga class before I even finished yoga teacher training by two young ladies, Shani and Tracy, in Philadelphia. They have a fitness studio in Philadelphia, two Black girls, and they said, Tiffany, we see you on social media. We want you to come teach a class. I'm like, I don't know how to teach a class. It's like, and they believed in me. They really believed in me. So I got some books. I started studying, and I went and I took my first yoga class, and I felt like I was at home. I'm like, this is. Went and signed up for teacher training, and there she go.
And there you go. Isn't that something? How first, a couple of things struck me. Your therapist said, do these things, and you actually did them, because a lot of times people don't actually do them.
Oh yeah.
You actually did them, and that she had the wherewithal to suggest yoga. Like, I can think back to the times even before becoming a clinician and being in my own therapy, because I always tell people, everybody and anybody could use a tune-up. You don't have to have anything major going on.
Absolutely.
Or you can have all kinds of stuff going on, but everybody, and then you need, tune-ups are like good things. But I wish someone had said to me that this was an option, that yoga was an option. That what you get from it isn't just something physical. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I see people and they'll say, well, I want to do yoga. Does yoga, or they'll ask you, does yoga help you lose weight? Because I need to lose weight, or something like that. And it's like, oh, girl, let me tell you, it's going to help you do way more than what you.
Oh, yeah. I taught a class one time, this was early on, and this is when you didn't really see a lot of yoga in our community. And in Shavasana, one young lady was really just connecting with self, crying. You could see her crying. And after class, she came to me. She was angry. She said, I didn't come here for all of this.
Oh.
I came here to do this and that. I didn't come here to be all emotional. And I said, well, keep coming back, because you could get a little bit of that and then some. Yeah. But we think it's about these postures, but you can go to a yoga class and all of your insecurities come right to the top.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you start beating yourself up because you can't do this pose. And then you start asking yourself, what is that about? Why am I comparing myself to another person? What happens on the mat, I always tell people, is a mirror to what's happening within you.
It's the truth.
The way you approach a pose, if you never accomplish a particular pose or you don't look a certain way in it, you know, and people look at other advanced yogis and think that, oh, they're just happy with their practice, but it's always a journey. It's always you looking at
Always.
yourself and thinking and connecting to what are these emotions that are coming? Why am I all of a sudden in a yoga class and I'm competing with the person on the mat next to me? What
That
is that about? Right?
or so can I really do that? Or my body just isn't made to do that one. It's just
Right.
like it's not gonna
Right.
ever happen.
Yes.
I would well, it's what it brings to mind is all this traveling, and I had a problem with my back. And when we were in Connecticut with family, um my sister-in-law, she says, I'm going to get you an appointment with the chiropractor. And I says, oh, good. And so I go to the chiropractor. He was really funny. He says to me, he says, well, when can you come back? I said, I can't because we leave for New York tomorrow. He goes, well, that puts a lot of pressure on me to do something. So he's standing there and he's doing his thing and he puts his hands on my hips. So he's behind me. He says, oh, I see where one hip is lower than the other. I said, what? Just like that. I said, what? He says, yeah. He said, I said, wait a minute. No one ever told me that. He said, well, when's the last time you went to a chiropractor? And I said, well, it was years ago. But he says, well, yeah. And I said, no wonder. So now what's interesting, I'll look at myself, and people always go, why you take pictures, why you do videos, why, whatever. I'll look at myself, and all I am in is a forward fold, and I can see the difference.
Definitely. Definitely.
I can see the difference. And I'm saying, no wonder that left leg is not ever going to lay the same way as that right. It's just not, it's not physically impossible.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so I get that, how we begin to learn things, and that whole competition. And competition, I'm my own worst competitor. I'll compete with
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
have to chill a minute and say, this is not necessary for you to go through all this stuff about
Mm-hmm.
how come you cannot manage to get in the wheel. I'll try, I'll push, I'll whatever. I was like, well, my head must be too big because it sure is not lifting off the ground. It's just like not gonna happen. But why do you keep doing that? It's okay, so let it go. And then I'm able to learn for that period of time until I find something else to compete with myself about.
Mm-hmm.
But that says something about me
You
and
learn
what.
so much through these asanas in your approach to it. I mean,
Yeah.
I love to chronicle my practice because I can see my growth.
Yeah.
I also can see regression that sometimes is natural. I mean, you're getting older, right? Um, I compete and compare with my younger self from 5 years ago. I'm like, man, that's just ridiculous. You can't do that anymore, and it's okay.
Right.
So that level, that lesson of acceptance is always there, teaching us to accept what is in the moment, right now, and not to look back, not even at your old self,
That's the truth.
but to accept where you are right now. And there's so much power in that. And that's what I've learned through this practice. I've learned that there is so much power in just accepting what is right now in this very moment, and not looking to the left or the right or in the future or in the past or any place where I have no power. The
Right.
power is here.
Isn't
It's
that the truth?